is time for a brand new Q&A video. Just in case you're new to the channel, all these questions come from members on a certain tier of the Patreon campaign. If you want to join in on the fun and ask a question, I've got the link with all the instructions right at the bottom of the screen now, so go check it out. Come on, join up. We've got 7 questions to hit today, so I really got to get to it. First question on the lineup is from Steven, who wants to know, how long was the process of getting your movie Child Eater off the ground start to finish? Do you plan on doing another movie? Also, I do highly recommend seeing Child Eater for people who haven't seen it. Like Perri, it rocks. Steven, you are too kind as always. I appreciate you spreading the word about Child Eater. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a timeline here. So it all began in film school, where my non-thesis film was the short film Child Eater that I also made with Erlinger. So we shot that film in February of 2012. It screened at school, but it wasn't until March of 2013 that it played at South by Southwest. And I feel like that's what really firmly put the idea of turning it into a feature film really kind of set in. And we spent the months after it. Erlinger was writing and he would send me drafts. And then it was in January, I believe, of 2014 that a key piece of financing for the film came in. And even though it wasn't all of the financing, our mentality was, we have this and we have to go. We don't want to let this opportunity pass us by. And that's the path we took. And it was a little scary jumping into a film without your full budget in the bank, but we had to take it, and I'm glad we did, because who knows if we would have made the film otherwise. So the movie went to principal photography in April of 2014. It was a fantastic shoot in Catskill, New York. It was super challenging. We had a great group of people. It was something else. Then we wrapped. Then we spent basically the summer months going through the footage and figuring out what we thought of it, what we were missing, and that led to additional photography in September of 2014. Went great. We were a well-oiled machine at that point. I love the footage we shot there. Then after that, we had all of our footage and it was time for post-production. And that's where things took a little longer than we had expected, because really there's a lot of things that go into post-production, from the editing, the sound, the visual effects, so much stuff. But we got to work with a very generous post-production company that's based in New York, and they were so kind to us. We didn't really have that much to spend, but they were really lenient with letting us use their facility, but we wanted to make sure their priority projects got done first. So that process took a little longer than we had anticipated, but we got there with their help and with the help of our family and our friends who watched us do this for like 4+ years. We finally made it to our big screen debut at the Brooklyn Horror Film Festival in October of 2016, and that's where we got to share the film with our cast and crew, and now everyone out there can see it. I'll include a link in the description section if you want to check out Child Eater. Again, Steven, thank you for the question. It is much appreciated. Next one on the list is from Evan, who's asking, what is an unusual habit or an absurd thing that you love? Evan, I could go on and on with a list to this question, but I'm going to isolate it to food this time around and tell you guys that, first off, I'm a creature of habit. I find a dish that I really like and I get it over and over and over again because, hey, then it's always a guarantee you're going to like what you get. Another food habit I have is frozen yogurt. I've loved frozen yogurt all my life, and yes, I like frozen yogurt more than ice cream. It's something about the texture and the consistency, and if I get ice cream, I wind up melting it in the microwave. I love frozen yogurt so much that every once in a while, I like to indulge and have frozen yogurt as a meal, like a gigantic one. Sitting on the couch with Dewey having frozen yogurt, watching a movie is pretty much my ideal lazy Sunday night. So there's one for you. And oh, here's another one. If you couldn't tell already, I have a major sweet tooth, so much so that when there's cake or cookies or anything like that, I like to have a lot of it. So my favorite birthday tradition is that I like to have cake for dinner. So last year we did a crack pie from Momofuku in New York City. 2 years ago, we did these things. They were called doughies, and they're from a company called M-Do-W, and they're basically cookie dough balls, and sometimes they have stuff baked inside, sometimes there's stuff sprinkled on top, but they were phenomenal. But anyway, I like to have dessert for dinner every once in a while, and even though I don't think my family shares that love as much as I do, thankfully they are willing to suck it up one day out of the year. So I hope that's a good list for you, Evan. We'll discuss more categories in the future at some point. All right. Next question on the lineup is one from Luke, who's asking, as you meet creators and form relationships with them and see classmates get their careers going, how hard is it to remain unbiased in reviewing their work? This is a great question here, Luke, one that is well worth discussing right now. And I do have to admit that, yes, when I'm friendly with a filmmaker, it's tough to critique their work, especially when I don't like it. But like I've said time and time again on this channel, my integrity with my work is of the utmost importance to me, and I would not sacrifice it for anything. So whether someone is a friend or not, I cannot play favorites with what I do, and I will never play favorites. So that is that. But I want to talk about the word bias just a little bit, because I think it is thrown around very often, sometimes misused. Luke is using it appropriately in this question here, but I feel as though sometimes the word biased is used when it's something you're inclined to like. I say all the time that reviewing movies isn't a science, it's an art, and it's also deeply personal. So when it comes to a horror movie, let's say, there is something built into me that makes me drawn to horror movies. So it's not that I'm biased towards horror movies, I'm a person who is inclined to like them. And then at that point, it's on me to justify why I like that horror movie in the review. If I fail at that, that's a problem. But I am not biased to, let's say, horror movies, certain individual filmmakers that I really admire and I like the stories that they tell. Or how about properties that I grew up with as a kid that are being adapted or readapted to the big screen right now? It's not necessarily about being biased. Those are the things that are inherent in the individual film critic that I am. And then it's just on me to tell you exactly why I feel that way and justify my points in the review. So I hope that clears some stuff up for you guys as we move over to our next question, which is from Billy, who's asking, what is a movie you always associate with the 4th of July? Billy, you gave me a softball this time around. You guys know how much I love Independence Day. We do not speak of the sequel, but I love Independence Day. I fell for it really hard when I first saw it in the theater as a kid, and I went back for so many viewings, and then after that, it became repeat viewing for me, and it is still today. I watch Independence Day any day of the year, but there's something extra special about watching it on the 4th of July because I know so many other people prioritize one of my favorite movies on that day. So that is a special one. But this year was also the 4th of July of Stranger Things. I'm lucky that my family's really into it because I was home and we binged it together, and I love how it captures the spirit of the holiday. It's a great show. I really enjoyed the 3rd season. So I had a pretty good 4th of July of entertainment watching, I guess. Thanks so much for the question, Billy. Now it's on to the next one, and it's from Ian, who's asking, any tips on how you prevent burnout and keep your motivation to keep writing, making additional videos in your free time? In all honesty, Ian, I think this is something that I have thought about a lot, but I have yet to experience, and I think I worry about it so often just because people ask me all the time, because I'm pretty much nonstop. I do my day job at Collider, I'm doing stuff for the YouTube channel in the evening, I like to pick up moderating gigs over the weekend. I really love what I do and I can't get enough of it. So everyone's always asking, how do you not feel burnt out? When do you make time for yourself? And I do. Maybe it's not that much, but especially when I'm taking consecutive trips, I always try to make sure I have a day, if not a full weekend, that I can just sit on the couch with Dewey, watch stuff for fun, not get dressed, kind of turn off a little. So as long as those weekends are baked in there, usually I'm pretty good, but I kind of have this insatiable drive, for better or worse, to cover everything. And just, it's a little FOMO too. I don't want to miss out on anything. I want to get to cover everything. I want to get to celebrate every film that I'm excited about. So at this point in time, I don't necessarily have the best answer for this question, but if I ever hit that wall and I find the solution, you can bet I will circle back and let you know. But right now, my love of movies and TV and all entertainment and all forms of storytelling right now is just all-consuming, and I really don't mind being in that mind frame most of my life. So I hope that kind of answers your question there, Ian. Now it's on to the next one from Kavi, and Kavi's asking, are there any other indie studios with visionary producers to watch out for in the coming years that have potential to have Blumhouse-style success? All right, Kavi, I have a list of names and companies for you right now, and I'm kicking off the conversation with the company Big Beach. They are behind The Farewell, which, if you haven't seen it, I cannot recommend it enough. But I interned for them, and the second I walked into that office, I felt accepted, I felt the warmth, and I could see all those qualities radiate through their movies, and their movies usually stand out from just about anything else we see out there. So that right there is a company I admire, and this probably goes without saying, but you guys know what a big fan I am of A24 and the daring, bold films they make, especially in the horror genre. So I'm a big fan of A24 as well. And as an individual, Timur Bekmambetov makes me super excited for the future of storytelling because he's working heavily on screen life right now. And that's something that the movie Searching was. It's basically experiencing a story through what's happening on a screen. And just the tech he's developing and the way he's fostering up-and-coming talent makes me really admire him as well. And speaking of Searching, another team that I've got my eye on that I'm very excited to see grow is the team behind Searching: Anish Chaganty, Sev Ohanian, and Natalie Kasabian. Just the three of them working together, they feel like such a seamless team, and it feels like a seamless team that are working towards making interesting things. So I'm watching them. Searching was the first feature film. They're working on something else now, and I'm very curious to see how that turns out. So there's my list for you right now, Kavi. I look forward to adding more names and companies to it. All right, last question. This question is from Ryan, and he wants to know, which major franchise today will most likely be rebooted in 10 years or less? If we are talking about semi-active franchises right now that are probably going to be rebooted in the very near future, I've got to go with Power Rangers. The movie came out 2017, didn't do as well as I had hoped, but there is so much passion for that brand. It seems just undeniable to me that they are going to continue making movies about the Power Rangers, especially when I just went to that amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con and you could feel the excitement for the Power Rangers in the audience during that panel I hosted. There is such a big fan base for that property, and there's so much opportunity for it on the big screen. And now that Dacre Montgomery has said that he is not planning on moving on with that franchise, and the likelihood of them recasting the entire group, I just have a feeling before we know it, we are going to hear that they are moving forward with another film. I certainly have my fingers crossed. And I also have my fingers crossed that they could put together an ensemble as great as that last one, because, man, I think that's the top thing that I'm going to miss about not seeing that iteration of the franchise continue, because I thought they were all phenomenal. All right. Dewey peaced out, so that means we're done. Guys, thank you so much for sending in these questions as always. So thoughtful. Let me run through all of your names again. Stephen, Evan, Luke, Billy, Ian, Kavi, and Ryan. You guys are the best. You really help keep this Patreon campaign going strong, and I appreciate you. And I appreciate everyone out there watching this Q&A. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, stay tuned because I'm going to have another one for you real soon.